Hi, everybody. This is April 2nd. It's Holy Thursday, 2026, and I'm in the middle of my 10,000 steps. I'm in my happy place, McDonald's. So I've been posting these videos as a form of therapy to recover from the trauma of watching my little brother Paul Kieran's 64 with Down syndrome be locked away for 588 days by the British Columbia New Democratic Party government, David Eby as leader and Nikki Sharma as Attorney General. They locked Paul up when I complained to the police after I discovered a secret and what I alleged to be a fraudulent and forged power of attorney the government created to give Paul the COVID-19 shot. The government appointed my 82-year-old Catholic nun sister 4,000 kilometers away in Ontario as Paul's guardian, and they didn't tell any of his other siblings, although he had 6 siblings alive at the time. I was Paul's only local family member, surviving from a big family of 6 adult children and my mother that had settled in Greater Vancouver. So they locked Paul up for 588 days. I did everything I could think of. I went to court to try and restore our visits, and I went right to the Supreme Court of Canada twice, but I was never granted leave to appeal. Then on April 13th of almost exactly 2 years ago, April 13th of 2024, Paul had a stroke, and my sister didn't inform me, although I was his only surviving local family member. She flew in 2 days later and allowed me a 10-minute per day visit with him at Burnaby Hospital. I believe that my sister ordered that my brother be killed, that his oxygen mask be removed, his ventilator be removed, although he appeared to me to be recovering remarkably well. He sat up, he grabbed a book from my hand, turned the pages perfectly. He squeezed my hand when I said my name. But my sister, as I said, ordered the treating physician, Dr. Michael Baker, to remove Paul's oxygen mask and to sedate him to death. When she found out that the Burnaby police had contacted me and informed me that they had been ordered by Ottawa to proceed with an investigation into the fraudulent and forged power of attorney. So that day, after I found out, when I walked into the hospital room, the nun said to me, she didn't look at me, she didn't look me in the eye, but she said, "Say goodbye to Paul, he's dying." And to me, he appeared to be dead. As I said, his oxygen mask had been removed and his eyes were wide open and unfocused. And then after Paul died, the nun flew in her Ottawa lawyers and her Vancouver lawyers and had a 4-day hearing to have me designated permanently a vexatious litigant. It's a very rare designation, which takes away my rights to litigate or defend myself in court, like any Canadian would normally have. I applied for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada on February 5th. I found out that I was not granted permission to appeal that decision. While all of this was going on in the background, I was aware that that the Supreme Court of Canada, unelected 9 judges, reversed their decision, an earlier decision about 20 years ago, dismissing an application by a member of Parliament, Sven Robinson, had promoted having a woman named Sue Rodriguez killed. I believe that she had multiple sclerosis, and he had this fixation on euthanasia and the right to be killed by the state. He was, as I said, an NDP socialist communist, first NDP member of Parliament ever elected. And I knew him. He actually was a personal friend. But anyway, so in February of 2015, the Supreme Court of Canada reversed their earlier decision, which should have been final. It was a 5-4 decision that you could not be killed by a doctor or nurse. That was still first-degree murder in the criminal code. They reversed that decision on the basis of an application by a woman who was already long dead named Kay Carter. And they said because Kay Carter complained that she might not be able to kill herself when she became terminally ill, she might be too dysfunctional or unable to kill herself, that wasn't fair. And so she should be able to be killed by a doctor or nurse at will. And they said that in the decision, they said they were sure that the government would put in place protections to make sure that that system was, the killing of Canadian citizens by the state would not be abused. And since that time, by July of 2026, by this coming July, Canada will have killed extrajudicially, so with no legal oversight whatsoever. No judge signs off on these killings. No lawyers are involved. That medical professionals who are not trained in the law at all, or ethics or history, are allowed to do something, and they call it medical, which means to heal. So medical professionals, the whole concept is to heal. And obviously killing people has not now or ever been resulted in the healing of a person. And in my background, I took anthropology and I studied as a hobby military history. And for the last 40,000 years, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens have not killed. There's a distinction of them is that they have not killed their sick and dying community members ever. Sometimes they cannot save them, but they have never actually killed them. And this is what happens to the individuals that Canada kills. A doctor or a nurse administers a lethal injection of a drug, a poison that was never intended for the purpose of killing people. It's never been tested for that purpose. How they get it or where they get it from, I don't know, because there isn't even enough for lawful executions in the United States. They've run out of that drug. So where they're getting it from, I don't know. But the pharmaceutical companies that are making this drug must be making a fortune. It's horrific. It's terrifying. It's what Hitler did. You know, people all compare things to Hitler. Well, I'll tell you, this is the first thing that's ever come along that is exactly like Hitler. Because the first thing that Hitler did when he came to power in 1933 was he cleared out all the sanatoriums and hospitals of sick, ill, and disabled people. He called them useless mouths. And although the form of consent, they said that my brother consented to my sister being appointed his guardian. My brother was never capable of appointing a guardian. He never had the mental capacity of more than a 15-month-old. And the signature on the document was a forgery. And I know that because it took me a year as a little girl to teach Paul to sign his name, Paul. And when I finally got a hold of the secret document, I could see it was a forgery. And having practiced law for 26 years, I've seen every kind of shenanigans that can relate to the law. But what I'm thinking about right now is that this is Holy Thursday and that my Savior, Jesus Christ, I'm a Catholic. I was baptized as soon as I was born because I was very sick when I was born. My Savior had a trial in front of Pontius Pilate on Holy Thursday before he was executed on Good Friday. So and as you know, according to the Bible, Pilate washed his hands. He didn't want to get involved, and he washed his hands. But Jesus actually had a trial. There actually was a trial. Whereas these poor souls that Canada has killed at the rate of 45 a day, 45 Canadians were killed today. And people are going along like I'm sitting in McDonald's and everybody's laughing and having fun. And people are going on like it's the most normal thing in the world. And all I can think of is Canada executed 45 people extrajudicially today and will tomorrow and every day from now on. And they say it's by consent. And I say, you cannot consent. A person cannot consent to being killed by the state extrajudicially. It's not possible. Anyways, so Jesus actually had a trial. And the people that were killed today didn't get a trial, and the people that are killed tomorrow didn't get a trial. And I've given it a lot of thought, and I think what should happen, and I know this sounds difficult, but I think that what should happen is that we need King Charles III to step in and protect these people that are being killed by the Canadian government on the whim of a group of 9 unelected judges. And the Chief Justice, Beverly McLachlin, I've discovered, I mean, you learn so many things. It's truly a true crime novel of the biggest crime of the 21st century. Beverly McLachlin, Chief Justice Beverly McLachlin of the Supreme Court of Canada, made this decision allowing what will soon be 100,000 Canadians to be killed by the state extrajudicially. She made that decision on February of 2015. And then in 2018, she went to work for the Chinese government in Hong Kong in the Court of Appeals. I'm not making this up. You can't make this up. And I asked Copilot today, I asked AI, I said, is euthanasia allowed in Hong Kong? And they said no. So the first thing that Beverly McLachlin did after she made this decision that's resulted in the extrajudicial killing by the state of 100,000 Canadians is go straight to Hong Kong where it's not legal, where it can result in the death sentence for a doctor or a nurse to kill a person. This exactly the same way would result in a death sentence. And then tomorrow, of course, is Good Friday. It's the most holy day in the year when Jesus was executed. And I'll be thinking of the 45 people that Canada will kill tomorrow, extrajudicially. But as I said, King Charles, if you watch this video, it's time for you to step in and come and liberate Canada from this evil government. I believe that the Chinese communists have taken over and they want to eliminate Canadian-born citizens. They will have eliminated 100,000 by July of 2026. It's time for you to come and take over Canada and save our poor, innocent, and vulnerable Canadian-born citizens from this horrific genocide. I love you all, and happy Easter.